What's up, guys? We are back with another episode of the Deventum podcast. Got a super special guest today. Obviously got a different location as well, hanging out in the backyard. But we have Jack Stamm, who is the Director of Operations at Deventum Properties. Jack is brilliant. We're going to go through kind of how we work together, how we complement one another. But Jack is my right-hand man. He pretty much runs majority of the operation on a daily basis, mainly on the acquisition side. And the business definitely would not be where we're at today without this guy. So without further ado, Jack, how are you?
What a humble intro. Wow. Life's good. It's great.
Awesome.
Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, Jack has a very interesting story on how he got into the real estate investing space. He's a kid. He won't say it himself, but did everything right. Went to college, got good grades, multiple majors, had the internships throughout college, and then ended up getting a six-figure job right out of college, which is very hard to do. My first job right out of college, I was making $45. Jack was making double that, if not more. But yeah, kid that did everything right, got good grades, got the right job, and was working very hard in corporate America until he listened to a podcast of mine.
Now we're here filming.
And I'm going to let him take it from there.
Yeah, so just a little background on kind of how we're sitting in this backyard right now. Like Dev said, did everything kind of the right way. Went to school, did my homework, studied, got good grades, got into the good college, and that was kind of my life up to that point. Listening to my parents and family members of, hey, put your nose in the grindstone, do your homework, show up, and you'll get far in life. And just kind of keep scaling that up. And, that's what I did in college. Dev and I met in college. We went to Clemson together. And, there I went to college thinking I was going to go to law school. So I was very diligent on my studies, really from the get-go. And ended up making a little bit of a shift. Took some business classes and then interned for a couple years at a boutique venture capital firm. And pretty much, it was easy. I was in the internship for 2 years before graduation, and, school was kind of like living in the moment, right? I just was enjoying life, and school was going well, and coursework at senior year was pretty light. So I was able to take on that internship, and really the easiest thing was just roll right into a job. So did well in the internship, and, asked if I could come on full time, and fortunately was able to get that job, and it was like the easiest thing to do. And it was the job that everybody wanted, like you said. Really, really solid pay out of the gate, and making six figures. It was like, wow, like it's done. I've made it. I went through school. I did all these things I was supposed to do. I got the good job, and it was really exciting in the moment. My family was super proud of me. My friends were super proud of me, and I was proud of myself too, because I wasn't always that guy. Back in the day, and middle school and even early high school. Was a bit of a knucklehead, as I think a lot of young guys are. But I woke up and I snapped it into gear, and I was proud of myself, reflecting on, wow, I actually was able to get there. And started that job, and at first I had no other experience. I wasn't sure what to expect, and it was a grind for sure, but I learned a ton, and it was moving fast. And then I stuck in that role for about a year, and about 8-9 months into that role is really when I kind of got the realization that maybe corporate America wasn't for me. And it was conflicting. It was really conflicting because I had the salary, and it was the place where you stay there and you grind and you show up and you do what you're supposed to do, and you will eventually get there. And I had some of the best minds in the industry that were my mentors, and I will say I'm really glad I made the transition, but I also want to take a moment to say, like, I probably wouldn't be where I am today without that experience. I think it, one, really gave me the perspective of why this entrepreneurial journey is important to me, and two, which we'll talk about later, is, it really taught me all the skills that I think make me a really good operator today. And I think would really complement you as well too. So I really look back at that experience as a positive overall, and I'm glad that I had to go through it to kind of figure out what I really wanted in life. And it wasn't, the 9 to 5. It wasn't showing up every day in the college shirt and hoping, if I just stick this out for 3, 4, I don't know, maybe 5 years, the promotion would be there. Maybe if I time things up and somebody leaves and I've had enough experience, maybe I can get in that role. So, I wanted something where I could control the outcome a little bit more. And I realized quickly that I had no control. The company was private when I was interning there, and then it got bought by a big private equity firm. I'll leave names out of it for sake of the interview, but it was a huge shift, and I realized that I had no control over my life. People would email me on a Saturday at 3 p.m. I'd have to work the whole weekend. If I was with family and friends, doesn't matter. And I think the biggest realization for me was it was my sister's birthday. We went out to dinner to celebrate her birthday, her 16th birthday. And I got an email. I had to leave dinner, had to go home, work all night. And at that moment, I kind of realized, maybe it's not all cracked up to what everybody says it is. So I read some books. I did some soul searching. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, everybody does. And that was the first thing. I was like, okay, there's another perspective to this. So I kind of went down that rabbit hole.
What prompted you to? Were you just hey, I got to get into reading. Let me pick entrepreneurial books or wealth books, or was it just?
Yeah, at that point, I was looking for.
You were looking for something
a life
else.
raft.
Yeah,
literally anything, and I'd been going around and reading stuff online.
Wait, who suggested you read that book?
Who suggested it? Was it maybe you?
I'm pretty sure it was.
It might have been you. So I was looking for a life raft, anything, and it was maybe a mix of desperation and ambition to change my life. That that book really impacted me, and I kind of realized that tying myself to an hourly wage wasn't the end. I mean, getting the golden handcuffs, I was making good money, but it just, there was no freedom to it at all. And even if I rode that roll out and got up to the point where you're making $300,000-$400,000 a year, like some of the upper management partners, they're just as handcuffed as I was. Just as handcuffed as I was. It was just more money in their bank accounts, but they couldn't spend time with family. They couldn't appreciate the little things in life, and that was the big thing that rubbed me the wrong way. Is I had no control, and it was like signing up for 40 years of just.
Yeah, you could kind of see. I feel that's what a lot of people don't see, is that you were in your role doing what you were doing on a daily basis, making good money, but still you didn't have that time freedom. You couldn't do what you wanted to do at any given time. And then, usually what gets people through those tough roles is seeing them, right, their manager or their boss, whoever it be, it would be them in, 3 years, 4 years, right? And if you look up the chain on, hey, where do I want to go? Okay, I want to be a team lead. Okay, let me go look at the team lead, and they're miserable. Yeah, they're making great money, but they're miserable. So you kind of had that realization, which I think is very important, knowing what it was that you were working toward and the lifestyle that you would have if you did accomplish that.
It was definitely a lifestyle thing, and like I said, I'm grateful that I had that experience, because I wouldn't have the motivator, the real why was I'm leaving this, I'm never going back, I'm burning the boats. There's no going back. I'm fully committed to this, and once I got a taste of what the other side looks like, I was willing to go through the fire to make sure it worked. So it's not that I don't like to work hard. I still work just as hard as I do.
Oh yeah.
Working on weekends, taking calls on weekends, right? That's part of the business. You got to get done what needs to get done. But there was just no exit for me. Yeah,
obviously there's a lot that goes into that to just leave.
Scariest decision I ever made. I didn't tell anybody even. I didn't consult my family. I didn't tell my parents. I knew deep down, and I couldn't really quite put my finger on it at the time. I just knew that it wasn't going to work. And some people might say, well, you just graduated college, you don't know any better, right? But I knew that this was not a fit for me. And not only that it wasn't a fit for me, but there's people my age that are out here doing other things. So it was, one, I was trapped in something I knew that I didn't like. And of course people might say, well, just switch roles. Well, just do that. And I was thinking about it. But when I zoomed out and kind of really thought about it, I was like, am I actually going to be happier doing different work? No, really it wasn't. And then I would also look out and I would see other people, similar age to me. And there's a lot of crap online, so you got to be careful with who you listen to. But I did see some pretty legitimate people around my age that were going this different route. And the biggest thing for me was, it was a terrifying decision. But I thought to myself, I was like, okay, let's say I kick this down the can, kick the can down the road. I, do this for another 5 years, and maybe I have a family at that point, maybe I have kids at that point. It's just going to get harder. There's no perfect time to make the change. other than now. I was young. I was still living at home at the time. I didn't have a rent. I didn't have mortgage or bills or anything like that. I was fortunate my parents allowed me to do that. But I mean, it was like now or never. I was like, if I stay here long enough, I'm going to get sucked in, and there's no going out at that point. There's no going back. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad I realized pretty early on, and I'm really glad that, I took the leap of faith and really put the chips on myself. It really felt like a bet on myself. And I think in the entrepreneurial world, you'll see a lot of people who are willing to gamble on themselves, whatever the odds are, because they know deep down they've got the grit to make it work. Mm-hmm. Make it work.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's awesome. And, having that realization, kind of just transitioning that into how we then came together. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I, like I said, I was looking for a life raft, kind of closing out my first year at that prior company, and I was just consuming a lot of content. I was reading books. I was looking just for anything, just inspiration. Yeah. And I was on LinkedIn one day. I was scrolling around, and as we're filming a podcast today, I saw you. Whose podcast was that?
It was Jen Josie's podcast.
Yeah, and it was a great podcast, and it really resonated with me because you were in a corporate role. You were really unhappy with it, and you read Rich Dad Poor Dad like a lot of people do, and some of those basic finance books, and you took the leap of faith and made a change for yourself. And it wasn't somebody I saw online. It was somebody I actually knew, which was super powerful for me. We, we're good friends in college, and we were very similar individuals, and you're a smart guy, I'm a smart guy, but there wasn't anything too different about us. And I was like, okay, if he can do this, then I can do this. It was a actual success case of somebody I knew. Yeah. That I knew it was legitimate too, because there's just so much stuff out there, and there's so many people out there lying about like what the reality is. But I knew hearing that story from you, it was real. So I reached out. We had a conversation. It was just a curiosity. Like, hey, what are you doing? What's this wholesaling thing you're doing? What's this real estate stuff you're working on? And we had a good introductory call, and I'm not sure if you knew it, but at that point I had already pretty much quit my job fully. Yeah. So I quit with no other plans. I quit with no interviews lined up, because that's not what I wanted. I needed to make a complete switch, and we had a couple conversations. You gave me some good resources to study up on, just to make sure it was something that I liked, and I was unemployed, so I was like, dude, look, I'll start today full time, and now we're here. So I mean, it was a really scary transition, and it wasn't all like roses and daisies. There were times when I was seriously doubting myself, and I was like, wow, did I make the right decision? Are my parents right? There's just so much noise when you're going through something like that, and then I had to convince my family, my parents, that this was the best decision for me when I wasn't sure if it was or not. Yeah. And that's when you really got to look inward and kind of lean on, yourself. Yeah, and trust your gut. I would rather put all the chips on me and live a life, like an adventurous life, where I just go and try to get it and fail, instead of be miserable and just settle for something that is never really going to make me happy. Yeah. And on my deathbed, I'd rather have cool stories to tell, even if it didn't work out, as opposed to just be like, yeah, I was miserable and I never took the bull by the horns and changed my life for the better. Yeah. No, I think it's really important. I mean, just to take risks, right? Like, most people will wait to take the risk, and the biggest risk is not taking that leap of faith. And taking risks at a young age is, I think, the most important thing, especially for people that are around our age in a corporate role that they're not happy with. You could always just take the leap of faith and start your own business, whatever it be, but take that leap of faith, what you've been wanting to do, and God forbid it doesn't work out, you just go back and get a W-2 like everybody else. That was the fallout plan. I was like, look, I'll do this for a year. If this guy's crazy and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and I'm just a year behind. And it's like, it was just weird because I knew it wasn't going to happen like that. Mm-hmm. Once I got a flavor of like the grind and the hustle, even getting a small win or something, like even just building up enough confidence to make the jump and put that behind me and like really branch out. I mean, none of my friends were doing this. I had, other than you, nobody at my age that was a real close friend of mine that was doing something like this. So yeah, it was a tough decision, but just getting a little taste of what that life can look like and actually taking action, because I think what a lot of people do is they have that motivation, they talk about it, but they never actually put it in place. Yeah. And all it takes is just one a really heroic step in the right direction, and there's no going back. You know, I mean,
Exactly.
of course you can always go back and apply for jobs, but once I left, that was the hardest thing. It was just making the decision to take control, and go down that different path.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's great. And fast forward now. I mean, this was 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago.
Yeah,
It was
a little over 2 years ago.
Yeah, a little over 2 years ago, is when Jack and I started together. And at the time this was all happening, I was still with the previous company I was working for, and it was always that I wanted to start my own business, but it's just I didn't need to yet, right? I was kind of taking that. I wasn't just needing to. I was in a good role. I was making good money.
Right.
I was happy. Everything was good, and I was always wanted to start my own business, but I didn't have that reason to yet. And then you coming into the picture, once you kind of gave me that green light, hey Dev, I'm all in, let's do this thing. I was like, all right, this is the dude I want to do this with. And I mean, you gave me all the confidence to leave Stag and go start my own thing, which was awesome. And we started it from the ground up. Jack, me and you, day one.
Day one in the trenches, cold calling, making it work, getting no's, getting worse than no's.
Exactly.
And just rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
Knocking down walls. You get knocked down, dust yourself up, keep going. And I think that's the mentality. It's not going to work at first. Like, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be times where you doubt it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now we're at a good spot, but there's always times of doubt. And it's reminding yourself of why. And I think that's really the biggest thing, and what I lean on is having that experience. That is my why. It's like I cannot go back to that, because I will just be miserable. And I say that as if it's like a bad thing, but it's not. For like some people, that's perfect for them.
Yeah.
Some people that's totally fine, and I don't look at my friends who are still doing that, which is the majority of people, as, oh, you're doing the wrong thing, or look down at them, because it does work really well for some people. They want to show up, they want something steady, and there's great benefits to it as well. I mean, you stay there long enough, you'll make a name for yourself, and you'll make some good money if you're at a good firm. But
Exactly.
God forbid something happens and you're fired in a week, and you have no plan, and you have kids, and you have a mortgage. It's like, that's the risk that you take with that.
100%. So Jack started out as a lead manager, as I did too. When I first got into the space, just nitty gritty cold calling. Jack, you didn't have any cold call experience. He was behind a computer crunching numbers, not really client facing or doing anything like that. So you were kind of in for a rude awakening, and
it was a rude awakening, but that was like the best thing. It's like a punch in the face. It's like a cold plunge. You get in, you're like blasted, and it like made me feel like alive. Like I was going to work every day. I was going through the motions. I just was like a zombie, like waiting for the clock to tick, waiting for my teams to stop blowing up, and then I could revert back to being myself. That like was a punch in the face, like a breath of fresh air, and you're just alive. You're in the moment. You're like, wow, this is exciting. I don't know what's going on. People are yelling at me over the phones, but like it just takes one yes.
Oh yeah.
It just takes one yes,
Yeah.
and we did get that one yes pretty early on.
We did, yeah. We found, from when we started it, I think we closed our first week in our first deal in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was quick. Yeah, it was very quick. And on the topic of that, what was, obviously you made the jump. You went from analyzing $1 million companies, underwriting $1 million companies, to calling random people, asking them to sell their house. But at what point did you kind of have that, like you said, you had to convince your parents that this was the right thing for you to do, and you didn't know that. At what point, and was it a deal? Was it just, the lifestyle? At what point did you know that this was the right route, and what that allowed you to fully lean into it?
Yeah, so it wasn't a totally linear path. Like when I started, things were rolling pretty good, actually. Like you said, we closed the deal within the first few weeks, which was great. I was like, okay, this works. Like, we got one win. Now we just need to figure out how to replicate that at scale. So I figured out that the actual process works. And I think that was the biggest win. Of like, okay, money actually came into the account. Mm-hmm. And I could breathe for a second. Like, okay, this does work. We just got to fine-tune the machine. Pretty quickly after that, we closed still one of our best deals, one of our best wholesale deals to date, just short of nearly a six-figure deal, very early on, I think within the first 3 months, which looking back is awesome, super rare. I'm glad it came, because I really was like, oh, okay, that's a good commission. Let's really dive into this, getting a quick win, like a first 3 weeks closing was good, and then getting a really good deal like that, where not only did we make it work for us, but we really did have a good experience with the seller as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the important piece as well, understanding the impact for the sellers. So it was just a really well-rounded deal that really gave me the proof of concept, like, dude, if I could find a couple of these a year, sprinkle in some good wins with that, like that's a good life.
Yeah.
But it was after that where I actually had most of my doubts. Going into the winter, going into a little bit of the colder season, the real estate markets, November, December, and I had no sales experience. I had never been in a rut before. I didn't know what that was like, and I went, like maybe a month and a half without a deal closing.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and I know that was super fun for you, I'm sure, as you're like, all right, what's this guy doing? And that was when I was really in the trenches.
Yeah.
I was really doubting myself, and that's when the noise really actually punctures the surface. I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe this wasn't the right decision. Maybe we got lucky, or maybe I'm not cut out for this. And that's when I had to look inward and really remember why I made that leap, the burn behind making that change and just staying committed. And it was actually a pep talk from you. It was one day where you just were like, dude, I get it. This sucks. You're in a rut right now. Business is not booming right at this moment, but you need to either quit and go do something else and be happy doing that, or you got to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and fully buy in, because even 90% buy-in in a business like this is not going to cut it. It needs to be 110% commitment, because in a sales role too, the sellers are picking up on that. The people you're trying to help and the clients you work with are picking up on that. My sales calls sucked. I had no energy. I was not excited to be on the phones. I was half-assing the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And that pep talk, I think, really woke me up, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll sulk for the rest of the day, but tomorrow I'm waking up and I'm not looking back. I'm going, as hard as I possibly can, just with a good attitude. And I told you, I was like, hey, we're doing this for a year. No matter what happens, I'll pick my head up at a year. And then I don't even remember the year coming by, because we just started rolling after that. Got more guys on the team, got another guy closing, got our dispo manager on shortly after that, then another closer, and things just kind of slowly started stacking up.
Yeah.
You made the full-time jump, which gave me more confidence as well, seeing you, put that other role in the past and fully buy into the business, invest more money, upgrade the CRM, and really buy in. And that's when things really clicked up, and I was like, there's no going back. We made it through the fire. There's going to be future tests and trials, but that was the hardest thing I had done, was quit my job.
Oh yeah.
And have a dry streak like that and be in the trenches like that, and then have to convince everybody around me that it was the best decision for me. So it was hard, but I'm glad I stuck it out.
100%. 100%. Another thing that I think it's so funny. So when Jack was having heard all that now, I just wanted to mention that the first 45 days to a month, Jack had not broken the news to his parents that he left this great corporate job. And I learned, this is a little bit before this pep talk, I started listening to some of his calls, and I was like, is he whispering? What's going on? And I call him, Jack, just listen to a few calls. Why are you whispering on the phone? He's like, well, my parents don't know. I'm working remote. My mom's always home. So I put a towel under the door and I whisper on my calls, and I'm like, dude, what?
Yeah.
You've been doing this for the past 2 months, and you're just hiding this and whispering it, whispering on your calls and whatnot, which is so funny. But, you obviously worked that out, broke the news, and you were still killing it on the phones when you were whispering, which is even funnier.
Hey, man, the whisper sales tactic maybe has a little bit of finesse to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, it was just, I don't know. Maybe I wanted to put more stress on myself, more pressure, make things harder than they had to be. Yeah.
Let's focus. I want to talk more about, the business, right, that, we're running right now. And, obviously you were, the first hire, and now, the team is a team of 10, 11 with an intern. But for you, you're the right-hand man, you're director of ops, pretty much managing everything. What have you learned from that lead manager role to where you are now? What is it? What do you think the most effective lesson you've learned?
Yeah, I think really the biggest thing for me is really being responsible for the sales team. It's tough to give advice and be confident with that advice if you haven't been there yourself too.
Yeah.
So when I talk to a guy and they're 3 weeks without a contract, I know what that feels like.
Oh yeah.
I know what that feels like even worse. I had my parents not knowing. I wasn't sure if I was working, and having that really allows me to like convey a confident message to those guys.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, hey, do this. It's like, dude, I've been there. I know what that feels like. I know how hard it is to be in that position. But these are the things we need to change, like tactically, to improve our calls. Like show up to more sales training. What objections are you getting? Like where is the actual issue, which we can get into in a minute. I know talk about our KPI review to really figure out where those issues are. But I think coming from that lead manager position, working my way up, closing deals, training new guys under me, managing the team, and then having some operational involvement now as well too. It really has a big picture, so I understand what's going on with marketing, and I can convey that to the guys that are locking up deals. The guys that are locking up deals can give me messages, and we can relay that back to marketing. And I understand like what they're actually talking about and the issues they're facing because I had those calls, and I know what that's like. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is being able to deliver a confident message and understand like what actually needs to happen to get things done.
And that's like back, in that acquisitions role when, you really weren't loving it, right? And we had Connor, we had, other closers under you, is where Dev, I don't like talking to people. Like, I just don't want to talk all day. And then as Jack, just give it, a year, right? You're going to be running this team one day, so you need to have the experience, in order to coach on that. And, be able to relate to their situations and the struggles that they're going through and all that stuff. But I think what's really important is, Jack is if you've read a business book, specifically the business partnership, all the best business partnerships, there's, the visionary, and then there's the integrator. And Jack, with his finance background, the guy's an Excel wizard. He can do anything Excel. He could draw a picture of a pony on Excel somehow. I don't know. But
secret. Another podcast.
Yeah. This dude is super dialed in just with his KPIs, everything from ROI per employee, connection rate, cost per lead, everything like that. He's totally systemized that entire process, which allows us to, have a grasp on everything in the business, every moving part in the business, cash conversion cycle, et cetera, et cetera. So can you touch a little bit on, the systems that you've built, the KPIs that you track, and, essentially how you analyze that data to, understand what the numbers are telling you?
For sure. I think one of the most powerful things that we do, and this is done on a weekly basis, we do a full breakdown of our sales funnel. So we look at how many leads we've gotten. We look at how many people that are leads are actually selling and they own the property, because you get some crap. How many appointments were set from that, how many offers actually went out from those appointments, and what contracts we got. And we'll look at the breakdown of the percentage of how many people made it through the funnel.
Yep.
And that helps you identify where your actual constraint is, because you might feel as if it's one thing, but you look at the data and it's something completely different. So, talking with your guys and getting feedback, I feel as if this is the issue, but you go back and you look at the KPIs, that'll either enforce it or tell you, no, it's actually something different. So for example, a couple weeks in a row, consecutively, we were really struggling with getting offers out. Yep. And we looked at the numbers, and we were setting appointments, but the offers just weren't going out. So what we did is had to go back and, hey, are we following the appointment setting SOP? Like, are we actually booking a time? Are the appointment reminders on? Are we creating a little bit of scarcity when we're setting the appointments so the sellers can't blow us off and not care about it? Yep. Kind of elevating our status a little bit, really being the experts. And those little tweaks are kind of how you keep the ship floating. And we do this weekly, because you don't want to do it at the end of the quarter and realize, oh man, we had 50% of our appointments not show up. Yeah. Whoops, right? Catching that early and then making the focus of that next week all about, hey, we're going to fix this, and then the next 2 weeks we're going to sustain it, and then we're going to work on a new problem if there is anything going on. If not, we'll continue to, keep the status quo going.
Yeah. Just in regards to kind of managing a sales team, right? They can call, if they call you, you're answering, you're dropping whatever you're doing, and you're answering them. How have you and you've also done a great job of training our guys, being very organized, doing role plays, but is there any specific skill for, another guy who is leading who has a wholesale company, who's trying to build a sales team or has a sales team, can't retain top talent, can't attract top talent, is just having a tough time managing his sales team or building a sales team? Any specific advice that you would give to someone in that position?
Couple things definitely come to mind. I think first things first, close deals yourself.
Yeah.
I see a lot of guys rushing to the operator role.
Mm-hmm.
And what we talked about earlier, the experience coming from the bottom, the lowest totem pole, right? The lead manager, which is an extremely important role. So I don't want to, really downplay that role. But coming from the bottom of the business all the way up to the top, you need to understand, like, what issues do a closers actually run into? How can you coach somebody through a drought if you've never came out of one yourself too? So I see a lot of guys that want to rush to the owner role, and they don't want to do anything. They want to be passive. They want people to close deals for them. You gotta get money first. So I would say the biggest thing is don't rush it. Close some deals yourself, see what that feels like, and then build a team. Hire a guy below you, train him, understand how to train people, make sure he closes deals, then get another one, then maybe you can scale back a little bit too. But I think first things first, close some deals yourself, and then it's not rocket science. I'm not the smartest guy. He maybe hypes me up to be a really smart guy. But it's really just about doing the little things right and like repetitively.
Yeah,
I think one of the biggest things that I would say is my strong point is I'm really super organized, and when I do something, I do it right the first time to make sure every single time after that is done correctly. So if you know what the script is, make sure you're hitting the points of the script. If you know what your KPIs are, like, review them weekly, see if there's any issues. Like, it'll come together and make a pretty clear picture if you're just doing the basic things. You're showing up every day, you're really organized, you're listening to calls. Something that I do to stay organized is I've got like 5 different places where I track my tasks. I've got like a Trello board where I have certain tasks. I use my Google Calendar like a mad scientist. I time block every hour, sometimes 15-minute windows, to really make sure before I even wake up that next day, my day's mapped out. I'm not waking up and saying what's on the schedule for today. I'm rolling onto the desk and immediately hitting my first tasks, making sure there's weekly things, doing your call recordings, organizing the pipeline. If you had a really good lead that somebody mentioned, like, why isn't it closed yet? Checking in on that. It's the basics. It's the basics. And the business is, there's definitely skill to it, but it's also about being consistent. Mm-hmm. And I think this, specifically the wholesale business, there's a lot of crap online, and a lot of people think it's easy, where you're just going to show up and call like 2 people and close a $50K deal. That's not how it works. You really got to show up every day and treat it like a business. And that kind of ties back into close some deals yourself. Do the actual things that will make money, not just expect to hire an offshore VA to close deals for you. Like, it's not going to work that way.
Yeah, no, 100%. In regard to, obviously we track, this again, specific to sales performance and, just sales. We track a ton of KPIs, obviously, for our guys. But for someone who is trying to implement KPIs into their business for their sales team or just themselves, what do you think if, just super surface level, just like the main 2 or top 2 or 3 KPIs that these guys should be tracking?
I think doing like a weekly company spotlight report where you look at the amount of leads you got, you look at the amount of appointments you got, you look at how many deals you close, just to make sure you're on track, right? Like, if one week you get 2 leads and you're supposed to get 10, like if you're a solopreneur and you're starting the business, you reach out to the cold call company, hey, do you guys need a new list? Hey, what, like, are the phone numbers bad? Do you need new phone numbers? So I think that's super, super powerful, and that's cool because you can say, I want to make X amount of money a year, but reverse engineering that into a weekly figure, it's a lot more digestible, and you can stay the course. Because if you just say, I want to make $1 million, right? Okay, how do you actually do that? Like, tactically on a weekly basis, what are the things you need to do to get there? You can break that all down into weekly numbers. How many leads do I need based on my close rate to actually get the amount of contracts to make that money? So I would say definitely track your leads, the amount of people who are like real sellers, like actually, maybe if it's 6 months down the line or 12 months down the line, actually want to sell. How many of those are booking appointments to hear an offer? How many of those are showing up to hear the offer? Because not everybody does, right? You think you have a great conversation and you're excited, and then you never hear from them again. And then lastly, obviously, seeing how many contracts and what you're actually closing too, because people lock up deals that don't actually close. That was an issue we had early on. And we had to tighten things up. We were picking up these little tiny deals, making $3,000, and if you have to do a reduction or something doesn't work, deal's dead. Deal's dead. So I would say that. And then knowing some of your marketing numbers, like making sure you're not spending like $10K per, like, cost per deal. Like, what's your marketing spend and how many deals you're closing? Like, if you're spending $15,000 to close one deal and your average assignment fee is $10,000, that's not scalable, right? So you need to make sure the money that you're putting into marketing is getting the return. So just tracking your basic ROAS for your marketing and understanding, hey, like, am I actually making money on this or am I losing money on this? And then understanding like the conversion cycle too of like how long it takes to actually get that money back in your account.
Yeah.
If it takes 12 months, then you might want to look at a different channel.
See, guys, I said top 3. He just has too much. There's too much in that head for him. He can't narrow it down.
It just kind of starts spewing. So.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And so that's more specific to sales. Now there's a whole nother list of KPIs that we track for marketing performance, because at the end of the day, a wholesale business is essentially just a sales and marketing company, and real estate is the product, if you will.
Yeah.
So in regards to marketing, obviously we have a good bit of different marketing sources, but just again, top 3 most important KPIs. You mentioned ROAS, return on ad spend, is what that stands for, but just a little bit more on your evaluating a marketing source. What time frame, 90 days, 6 months, per marketing source. What sample size do you need to fully evaluate a marketing source, and at what point are you going to go ahead and what process are you going to run through throughout that evaluation to determine if you're going to go deeper, put more money into that marketing source, or pull back?
Yeah. So I think a couple things you mentioned, some things that I like to keep in mind when looking at marketing would just be like your basic return.
Yeah.
So you put this much in, how much did you get out? Like, what is the actual multiplier? Is it 2x?
Yep.
You put 10 in, you make 20. You probably want to be around like at a minimum maybe like a 4x return on your marketing. Otherwise, it might make sense to reevaluate. It's either the sales process that you're doing, or maybe it's the locations you're targeting. So I think that's a big thing. I also would say, like, in terms of knowing when to go deeper on a marketing channel, you definitely want to make sure the return's there. But as you spend more money, the return could potentially go down as well too. So keeping it, it's not just going to be, I'll throw more money in it and it'll stay at a 6x. It'll probably dip because you're spending more money. You might not be closing as many deals as you'd like, but over time, you'll get the return down the road. So I think pairing the actual return, what your multiplier is, and also understanding how long it takes to turn that into dollars in your account. So you buy a lead from a PPL provider this day. When does that actually turn into a wire to your bank account? So I'd say coupling those two is going to be super powerful, because if you have a 10x return on SMS, but it takes you 7 months to close a deal, it's not a great marketing channel.
How are you reinvesting into the business?
Exactly.
You're not. You're waiting 7 months to make money.
But if you're making a 4x and it's a 50-day turnaround, that's a solid marketing channel. You probably want to put some more money into that and see if you can keep it around that number.
Yeah, 100%. And that's we go pretty deep on our stuff. We're always, Jack does a good job of just playing devil's advocate. I like to make quick, rash decisions. Jack is he definitely keeps me in line and plays devil's advocate, and it really helps me go through the numbers. And just like when I was doing that stuff myself, I didn't like it because I never had that reassurance from someone else, right? We've had mentors with Chandler and with John, which has been great, but they only know what we tell them. For you and I, right? You're in the trenches with me. You've seen this from day one to now, 2 years later. So it's cool to chat with you and get your opinion and just continue to grow. I think that's one thing that I've obviously done well, but Jack's done super, super well as well. And it's just being insanely obsessed, right? You don't have hours, right?
Man,
it's a lifestyle. You're working when you need to work, and you stop when it's done. You don't stop when you have something else to do. You stop when it's done.
Man, when we started with John Lalonde, our new sales trainer, I was finding myself role playing in bed. I was laying at night learning the new script, walking down the street. I'm like, what is this like? How do I overcome this objection? The gym the other day, I was like doing some objection handlers while I was on the treadmill. It's like, it's fun because it's not work.
It's not work, right? And I always tell myself, like, what else is there to do?
Yeah. Well, just because you have control of the outcome.
Uh-huh.
And the thing is, for me, it was the disconnect with the corporate lifestyle was like, I can put in as much as I want. It doesn't guarantee.
Still going to make the same.
Once I find something where I can crank and it will return more money and more, opportunities for everybody, that's when I can't stop thinking about it. I mean, like a stupid analogy, you find out like a glitch in a video game and you have to go run up a mountain or do something stupid. You just run it on repeat mindlessly because like the return's going to be there if you put more into it.
Yeah.
So I kind of treat it like a video game almost, where it's like, show up, do the task, do the thing, and just put more into it, and you'll get it back.
100%. And there's not really, sales is really the only industry where, obviously entrepreneurship too, but sales in specific, where you can directly, right, the more time you put in, the more you earn, right? You know, you can directly see that comparison, regardless of the industry. You know, all sales is that way. I think another important thing to talk about is just onboarding, right? I feel like people will find good talent and then it fades out, right? They're not managing that person well, they're not setting them up for success. So for you, right, just, you know, that first week of onboarding in the, you know, the sales role, we start everybody as a lead manager, 60 to 90 day ramp period, and then if they hit the numbers we give them throughout that time frame, they'll then be promoted to an acquisitions manager. So in that role, you know, throughout your training process, what do you think the most important thing for someone that has struggled to train employees? What do you think your most effective training outline is?
Yeah, I would say first you got to find the right person.
Yeah.
I think you can't turn somebody who doesn't want to be a rock star into a
That's
rock
the
star.
biggest thing is the right person.
So you might have hired several guys and you're looking at yourself like, man, like what's wrong with me? I can't get these guys to stay. I can't get them up to KPI. I can't get them closing where I want them to. It might not be you. You might be doing the right things. You just have the wrong, horse on the track.
Yep.
So I think really in your interview process, I would really understand like the why.
Yep.
It's not just, oh, this is a job that sounds cool, or like, oh, real estate's cool. Like that's not going to do it. And being a lead manager, it's like almost not real estate.
Yeah.
It's sales.
And
so
it's someone that's going to take a commission-based only job. I mean, for us, obviously, right, we're vetting the hell out of these people. We know why they're doing it. They're because they freaking want it and they're a go-getter. Mm-hmm. But, you know, in a commission-based only role, it's one of two people. It's they're the go-getter who wants it and they're willing to risk on they're willing to put the risk on themselves and take that risk, or it's the person that's desperate and it's you know, the only job they could get, which is not obviously what we're not going to let that person in, but that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, and you'll tell, like if you're going through an interview with somebody and you're like not, oh yeah, this is the guy, it's probably not the guy. And we had an experience like that where it was like there wasn't not a reason to bring him on board. And I think a lot of people fall into that
Mm-hmm.
trap of like, all right, I mean, he's checking most of the boxes, but it's not like there's nothing wrong, there's nothing like really right.
Yep.
I would say hold out and wait till you get the guy where you're like, if I don't hire this guy, it's going to be the biggest mistake I've ever made.
It's 100%, and it's like, for me, you know, that was my decision. You know, you weren't even involved in that, and it was, I think this could work. And what I learned from that, and I apply this to everything in my life, but it's not a hell yes, it's no. It has to be a hell yes, right? Or else it's no. What would you say your just most important interview question for sales?
I don't know if I really have a specific question. It's when you're talking with somebody, like you can see it in their eyes, right? And I think one of the things too that you gotta make sure you're not doing is like overselling the role of it's gonna be great. Would do the opposite. I would say, hey, it's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be really tough at first. You're probably not gonna make money for this first maybe 60, 90 days.
That's exactly
just
what
setting rock bottom expectations.
I told you. It sucks.
And if that guy's still like, dude, I'm game. Like, let's do this. That's your guy. You know, you don't want to be like, oh, okay, like it's great. Like, you know, eventually you can start your own business and, you know, you're going to close a bunch of deals and we've got this much money in marketing. You're going to get so many leads and it's like, we got the best marketing. You don't want to hype it up. You want to give them all the reasons to say no. Mm-hmm. And if that guy's still leaning in and he's still like, dude, let's ride. I'm down. That's going to be your guy. So 100%. I think maybe it wouldn't be a specific question. I think it's more of just framing the opportunity as kind of crappy as it can be. Mm-hmm. And if that guy's still bought in, or girl, that's going to be your person.
100%. And I think just another really important thing, which I really didn't realize this until like 3 months ago, but obviously Jack was the first hire, and now we have 10 full-time employees on the team, and we've actually never posted a job ad, right? We've never went and hunted to acquire talent or anything. It's always come to us. Why? I don't think I'm that cool, but I think Jack has helped out a lot in that process, right? You know, for those people that have reached out to me and shown interest in potentially just getting into the industry, which has most of the time it's showing interest in getting into the industry, and then it ends up, you know, based off my advice and how I learned and how I got to where I am, it's go work for someone, and if when they're the right person, that someone is us, mm-hmm. right? That's how I got you. I was like, hey, you could go do this yourself, but dude, come learn with me first. You know, learn on my dollar. Don't try and learn on your dollar. Don't risk your money, which is super important. And really, what we do is, I obviously have the first call with them, just a basic phone call, and then I'm pushing them right to Jack. And then Jack's kind of explaining how he got involved, the leap of faith that he took. And I really do feel like everyone on our team does have a very similar story of, burning the boats in the corporate world and taking that leap of faith, and that's what got them to where they are now and what allows them to live the lifestyle that they live.
Yeah, you got somebody crazy enough to do that, then they're probably the right guy. But if they're, you got to make sure they're smart guys and they understand the business as well too. So it's not all about commitment. I think, commitment's a huge part of it, but also making sure that the why, like I said, I think it always gets back to the why, like understanding why they want this role. If they can't clearly articulate, hey, it's because I want to do X, Y, Z in my life, and this is the vehicle that's going to get me there, and this is why it's important to do that. For me, sales was something I wanted to learn, and real estate as an asset class, I think is a great wealth generator. But I knew that I wanted to get into sales because worst case scenario, I pick up some sales skills, and that's a skill that'll stay with me forever. And then real estate's a great vehicle to kind of take you the way there.
Yeah. I think another thing that I like your opinion on this. Basically, so there's a lot of guys that, a lot of wholesalers, people that are following us that are probably watching this are, there's just no consistency in their deal flow and revenue, et cetera, et cetera. It's always been hard. I've never really had consistency in revenue until now. Right now we do have consistency in revenue. Is there anything, we've done this together now, right? I know your answer here, but for them, what do you think is the most important thing for us staying consistent, meeting projections, and really not having, a 100K month, then a goose egg, and then a 50K month, then a 100K month, then a goose egg? What do you think has been so important that you've done with the sales team to keep that consistency?
I really think it's those little weekly overviews, right? I mean, it's so important. You'll catch an issue before it turns into an issue, right? Like one week, your conversion will look a little bit lower from the amount of people that are booking appointments, the amount of people that are actually getting offers. Those people are qualified, right? They should be getting an offer. Why aren't they showing up? Because those are deals that are somebody else is probably going to close. So I think it's really just honing in on a weekly basis and making sure there's no leaks before they turn into floods is really the biggest thing, because a lot of people will zoom out at the end of the month and see how they're at. Before the month closes, we know how the month's going. And we know what the action items are going to be for the next month, and 100%. The team's prepped on that. I think the transparency is super important too, so we do these meetings with the full team so everybody understands the current constraint. Everybody understands what's going into marketing, what types of leads they're supposed to be getting, because it gives them accountability as well too. They understand what they need to do to make sure everybody wins. So I think one of the biggest things would just be, you don't want to spend your whole day in a spreadsheet, because that's not what's going to make you money. But at night, burning some midnight oil, getting into spreadsheets and making sure that your leads are converting, making sure that your follow-ups and your drip campaigns are all put into place. It's all the little things that are kind of like detail-oriented and like annoying to do that all come together. These little 1% increases all kind of come together to create, a really successful operation. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely do agree with that. I also think just one other thing about, just the industry, the wholesale industry specifically, that I want to talk with you about is, Jack he's been in pretty much every seat except for dispositions, right? You did lead manager, acquisitions manager, pretty much director of acquisitions, and then you kind of went more to that admin leadership role, where I had you start doing client relations, transaction coordination, data pulling, marketing, etc. What out of all the roles that you've kind of held in this industry within Deventum, which one's your favorite and which one is your least favorite, and why?
I'm a shy guy.
Yeah.
I don't like being on the phones, honestly. But, just today, I was in cold follow-up with our newest lead manager, because how can I get him excited about it if I'm not willing to do it myself, too? So 100%. Leading by example, doing the things you don't like doing, because it'll make the difference, I think is really the big thing. But, yeah, I don't like being on the phones. I don't do well with rejection. I'm a very empathetic person, so it's tough for me to kind of, keep people's emotions. And it's sometimes you're playing, psychiatrist. And helping people through some really tough stuff. And for me, it can be exhausting. So I would say that would probably be my least favorite thing. I love the numbers. I love getting into spreadsheets. That's what I'm good at. I love staying organized and building SOPs, and I like the sales training too, man. I like the call recordings. I like just refining the process and kind of just just popping the hood and seeing what's going on. I think that's probably my favorite thing because it's my strengths, and I feel like you like what you're good at.
Yeah, and I think that's what I enjoy the most too, is like actually running through the conversions and really like working on the business instead of in the business, right? Is what I enjoy a lot, especially with you, because you have it all organized, and you just have an Excel formula to tell us what we need to know, which is awesome. And I think it's really cool because it's something that neither of us have ever done before, right? We're young, we haven't owned a business before. I wasn't a finance major. You were a finance major, but they don't teach you how to run a full business, right? How to make decisions, how to reallocate funds, and how to project cash conversion cycles, things like that. And it's just cool that we do that.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's not real sometimes,
No, yeah. No.
That's why I wake up every day just like ready to go. Like I never, oh my gosh. I mean, 3 years ago I'd wake up absolutely miserable. I'm like, it cannot be bedtime quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And now I wake up, I'm like, let's go, another day. I always say it, Fridays are my least favorite day. It's a Friday right now. I'm not going to get to see the guys until Monday, and I'm always on our team meetings like, guys, it's Friday. No. Just because I love what we do, man. And it's like being able to contribute as well and actually have a big difference. Like if I'm not there one day, there's an impact.
Yeah.
And in my corporate role, if I'm not there, somebody else is going to do the work. It doesn't matter. I'm just another number. But on a team like this, on a smaller business where you're scaling and growing, every team player's super crucial to your overall success. So if one guy's out one day, you're going to feel that. And I like, one, the accountability, and two, being able to, have the opportunity to have an impact like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's cool just being able to, especially like when you have, and all of our guys are this way, right? That's why they're working with us. But when they really buy into the process, right? And that comes from you, right? Who's training them? You being excited to train them gets them excited to be trained, right? And then continuing to work on themselves, work on their craft, work on certain constraints, conversions, whatever it be. And just seeing, that people do rely on you, and that if, you don't perform, they can't perform, and, vice versa.
There's days where I'm tired, for sure. There's days where I'm not, like, fully motivated because motivation comes, but the discipline is what keeps you on the straight line. So, I mean, there's days where I got to lead a call, or I got to go do some sales training, and I'm like, dude, I kind of just want to go to bed right now. Mm-hmm. I'll drink some coffee, I'll do some jumping jacks, I'll play some music, and I'll come into that meeting super hyped up because, you got to feed them energy. Make sure 100%. Everybody's excited about it. If you're flat, everybody else is going to be flat. So you lead by example. You got to make a tough call, go make the call, right? Like I was saying, I want to put a good example on, make some calls, and show some people how it's done. I think just being a leader and leading from the front is huge.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, kind of getting away from the wholesale, real estate side of things, I want to kind of talk a little bit, you're very disciplined, very organized, and just, a go-getter, right? Like I said, what's made you so successful is that you're obsessed, right? You're obsessed, you take massive imperfect action, and you stop when the job is done. So what are some, whether it's a book, a podcast, a specific quote, you're a big quote guy. So how did kind of explain your mindset behind entrepreneurship, right? When you're having those slow days, when you're not feeling great, what do you lean on to go ahead and get back on path?
Yeah, I mean, I think the discipline is it. Like, you're going to be motivated sometimes, you're going to be not motivated sometimes. So if motivation is your gas, you're not going to make it. If discipline is the core of what makes you go every day, that's going to be a winning formula. You might not be the smartest guy in the room, but if you show up and you make incremental improvements every single day, time after time, you're going to be in a much further spot by the end of the year. And I think a book that really teaches that would be, if you haven't read this book, read it, Atomic Habits. Really good book, and it just kind of talks about the importance of not getting distracted by a flashy goal, but showing up every day and doing the things that'll help you get there. You might not notice the change. It might be so small that you can't even feel the improvement, but those stack up over time, and then there's a tipping point where you just...
Yeah, it's just literally as simple as, like, wake up in the morning, make your bed.
Yeah.
It's that, like, wake up in the morning, just one of the little things.
Make your bed. I was going to say, a quote. Yeah, I was watching the Roland Garros tennis final a couple weekends ago. We were just talking about it in our team meeting. A really great match. But in the court, there's a quote in the rafters, and I think it's a Napoleon quote. I could totally butcher this, but I think it's "Victory belongs to the most tenacious," and I think that ties back to, like, the discipline, right? Yeah. The guy who's gonna regardless of if it's raining, if you're motivated, if you're sick, whatever it is, the world doesn't care. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to save you. If you're feeling bad, oh yeah, no, just start tomorrow. It'll be okay. We'll wait. The world will wait for you. That's not how it works. The wins are going to go to whoever shows up every day and just gets after it. So when I'm not feeling great, I think back to quotes like that, where it's like, the guys that are going to win are going to show up and just get after it. And nobody cares if you're tired. Or nobody cares if you're sick. So that's what I lean on when I need a little boost.
100%. Yeah. No, that's good stuff. And I mean, there's so many different quotes that, I love it too, because everybody does have their own quote that, they fall back on. For me, one thing, when I was really starting the business and was still like, shit, is this gonna work? It was always forward, never back. And is the quote, and it's the goal is to, I actually almost got it tattooed on my wrist. It was like I had to post it, always forward, never back. When shit got hard, just do it, right? If you put the issue off, or you wait and think it's gonna fix itself, you're just digging your hole that much deeper.
Yep.
And the goal with that quote is to eventually say, just remove never back, right? It's just always forward. Always forward. Always forward. Do what is going to continue to move you forward, whether that's a matter of sending one email, making one phone call, or spending 6 hours crunching numbers and building out an Excel sheet. Whatever you need to do, just pick what's going to move you forward. And keeping consistent on that, making little actionable steps that are going to go ahead and move you forward, compounded, is what separates.
Yeah. Continuous obsessive refinement. And you'll get there. You don't have to be the smartest guy, but if you show up and you get better every single day at one part of the business, one part of your sales process, or just personally, like you show up and you wake up when you say you're going to wake up. You don't snooze your alarm. You go to the gym when you say you are. Those stack up.
100%. What the quote that you just wrote on my whiteboard?
I stole that from Hormozy. The hard way is the easy way, because the easy way never gets you there. Everybody's looking for the easiest way to get to the top. There is no easy way. There's only the hard way, and that's the only way to go. So you just gotta buckle up and go along for the ride.
Yeah, damn right. Well, do you have any kind of just want to, someone like you who left the corporate world, took that leap of faith, got to where, did what you needed to do to get to where you're at now, and we're just starting, right?
We're just getting going.
Yeah, we're just getting going. We've got a lot of business left. Years and years and years and years and years, and centuries of Deventum.
Well, 300, I think.
yeah, at this rate. But any advice for someone, those listeners that are wanting to get into real estate, that want to, whether it's real estate or just take a leap of faith, and they're in that in between where they just don't have the reason to, or they just don't have the balls to do it yet. Any advice for those people?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's never the perfect time. Today is the perfect time, because tomorrow there's more time past, there's less opportunity, there's more opportunities for doubt and noise. So I would say there's never going to be a perfect time, and it's never too late. I was fortunate enough to really make this leap of faith early on. So if you're a young guy out there and you're miserable, like I said earlier, do it for a year. You can always go back, and you're just a year behind. So if you're feeling like that might be an option for you, just rip it now while you can.
Yeah.
But it's also never too late, too, because one of the guys on our team, he's got a family. He's got a mortgage. He's got the bills.
42 years old.
And he still was able to make the leap of faith. So either if you're in my shoes where you're in a corporate role and you're miserable and you want to see what the other side looks like, stop thinking about it. Be smart about it. Don't think you're going to build a drop shipping company overnight online, right? Like, do something that you're actually passionate about, that you're willing to invest the time in. Or if you do have a family, use him as an example. That it's never too late.
No. Yeah. And I think it's also just important to so many people think that they have to have this $1 billion idea and they need to reinvent the wheel.
Oh, no, man.
For me, why I chose real estate was because, all the books that I read when I was kind of going through this phase, what is my calling? What am I going to do? The common denominator in all those books is that the wealthiest people, it's always real estate, real estate, real estate.
Yeah.
Doctors, lawyers make a lot of money, but the really rich ones make their money on real estate, right? Exactly. Because they bought and then they've just invested their money well. So for me, I'm not the smartest dude. I don't love finance. I don't love numbers or anything like that. I'm like a see-feel touch guy. Stocks and day trading, like that stuff, it's just poof, it's in the cloud. I don't know, right? Real estate, I can see, feel, and touch it. That's why I liked it, and I just told myself, hey, if I get into real estate at 22 and I just stay really consistent, if I'm a real estate agent for 50 years or I'm a broker, whatever it be, if I stay in this industry for 50 years, I'm going to be worth something when I'm
There's
older.
no way to lose.
Right? I'm going to have something to leave my family, and I'm going to live a good lifestyle because I'll be able to create my schedule as long as I'm successful.
And you'll have hell of a story to tell your grandkids, right?
Exactly.
And be an inspiration for your family and really change the trajectory of your family too. It's not all about you.
Mm-hmm.
I always think about the family legacy as well.
100%.
Who's going to be the one to really kick things up and be that leader of the family, put you guys in a better position, your kids, their kids. So.
Hell yeah. Anything else you want to chat about? Anything you want to bring up?
Oh man, this was good. This was great. I mean, I'm grateful to be here. It's been a hell of a journey. Like you said, what?
Where are we sitting?
Oh, wow. We are sitting.
Your favorite deal? Wait. What's your favorite deal that we've done together?
Well, it's got to be this one, man. I mean, this beautiful house behind us right here, this is the deal that I picked up and we were able to close, and would have been a great deal to flip, but we got strategic about it. I mean, you can talk about some of the details if you want, but did an extensive value added square footage, put a beautiful pool back here, beautiful backyard, and now this is the HQ, man.
Yeah.
And I think not only was it a cool experience kind of seeing that, but it's also like, you look at this place, you're like, holy cow. Like, we actually did this, and it's like real proof. The Seafield touch.
Yeah.
It ain't going anywhere
Unless
a tornado comes by and tosses it into the next county, which
whoa.
would be a little bit of an issue, but it's like a trophy almost.
Yeah.
And it's a hell of a cool trophy.
Yeah, I was messing around the other day. I was like, dude, it would be so cool if like we just turned the living room into just like the office, just like cubicles.
Yeah.
But can't do that. But
man.
actually make it the actual headquarters.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a deal obviously that Jack found. It's been a while. We bought this. It'll actually be a year ago. Actually, it's a year ago today is when we closed on Cottingham, which is crazy. And then I moved in about 2-3 months ago. But this is the first time Jack got to see it, finished product, which was really cool. And seeing Jack in the house, all done, it was cool for me to see you get that proof of concept again, right? Like you could see it, you're doing it, and you're enjoying it, right? We now get to enjoy this place, and we decided to hold it, for strategic reasons because, we have a very large spread in it. Just very quick, we have a very large spread in it. If we were to sell that, we'd pay close to 30% in capital gains tax. We're in a position right now, the business is in a position right now where we don't need that big rip. We don't need it. The business is doing very well, so we're okay. And it also allows us to go ahead and borrow against the property, right? We have a ton of equity in this thing. We could go borrow 600, 700, 800K pretty quickly, very easily if we needed to, right? And we could always, God forbid, the business goes down or, we do need additional funds. We could always sell this thing and then we'll be okay. So having those options, just being aware and knowing your options and just being savvy enough to know that you don't need to just sell everything. There's a lot of options, and holding properties can benefit you in a lot of ways. It could also hurt you in a lot of ways. So I think that's definitely important.
About it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, one last tip for the users on how to get like you.
Oh, how to get like me. There's like no big thing you gotta do.
Daily planning, health, wellness.
Yeah, I mean, like just being organized. Like before you go to bed, what does tomorrow look like? I do it on the weekend still too. Like even if I'm just building in some leisure time, like I will still build my weekends. So like you maybe don't have to go as crazy as me, but just being organized. And I think everybody knows what the right thing is to do, right? And if you're having trouble thinking that, think of what are the worst things I could do, and then just do the polar opposites of that. Oh, I don't show up on time. I don't do my homework. I don't review my calls. I don't track my KPIs. I don't go to the gym. I don't eat healthy. Those are all the bad things, right? Just do the opposite.
Setting yourself up for success.
It's simple, and it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And we're in a world where it's easier than ever to be distracted and not do the right things too. So, I delete Instagram. I don't have social media on my phone. I try to not get distracted by that stuff, and I just show up and just do the basics. It's really not rocket science. I'm not, the next Elon Musk. I just show up and I do the things that I know will improve over time, and the patience. I think that's the biggest thing. People expect like an overnight win. Wins will come daily, but they'll be small. You might not feel them. Just stay patient, stay committed to the process, and just keep running, just keep going.
Damn right. Well, you heard it from him. Jack, thank you.
Yeah, man.
And,
Thank you.
To a lot more deals together and building an empire.
Amen.
Thanks, y'all.
See you guys.